I found myself up late at night, and I was pouring through a ton of information, getting ready for a new client that I was seeing the next day. I was being hired by this professional services company who had hired me to go through this negotiation with them. They were a company who owned a loyalty program. And so they had this program of rewards, and they would go and sell access to this program to other partnership companies so that folks like you and I could go and make purchases and collect these rewards. Maybe it's purchases at a certain type of store, maybe it's purchases through a credit card, and so on. Now, because of the non-disclosure agreements that I sign on a regular basis, I can't tell you the names of any of these companies, but I can tell you the negotiations that I'm brought in for and the scale of them are usually with folks who rhyme with things like Schmalmart and Bosco. So you can imagine how big this program was. And at the time, it was one of the most popular and probably the best loyalty program on the market. It may still very well be. And they were going into a negotiation with a bank who issued a credit card. And they'd had this partnership with the bank for about 10 years, and it was up for renegotiation. And this was the biggest negotiation in their company's career so far, in their company history. And so they called me in because they went, hey, we're really struggling here. The bank keeps telling us, give us more money, or it looks like they're going to walk away. And I'm going, I don't get it. I had just poured over all of these documents because I do what I always do. I start doing research whenever I'm getting involved in a negotiation. What's the lay of the land? What's the context? And these guys were PowerPoint junkies, so they gave me a ton of stuff to go over. And I'm looking at all this stuff going, I don't understand. Objectively, this loyalty program was the best in the market, and yet they're telling me that the bank has all the power and they're worried that the bank is going to walk away. I just didn't understand. And so despite the subjective information that I'm bringing in, because I come in with a fresh perspective, right? Despite all of this, the bank was going in there and going, it's going to be my way or the highway. They were doing this in a competitive my way negotiation, basically saying, you're going to have to give us more profit, otherwise we're going to walk away. And they were behaving as though they had all of this power. And my client believed them. And that's why they were panicking. And you might have found situations like that where you're dealing with people where you feel like there's no way out. There's no way that I can handle pushing back on these folks or it's going to end terribly. What are some of those high pressure scenarios that you have found yourself in where you go, okay, I'm going to have to do what they want me to do for now, but as soon as I get the opportunity to get out of dealing with them, boy, will I ever, because no one likes dealing with those competitive folks. And so as soon as the opportunity comes up where you see an opening that you can deal with someone else or you can get out of this negotiation with them, you take it because we just can't stand being there anymore. And that's where my clients were. They were looking for someone like me for help because they went, this is not sustainable. That competitive negotiation approach is just not a sustainable way of doing things. The bank had not realized that yet, but boy, did my clients. And there was a lot at stake if this didn't go well. If my clients couldn't manage to walk away without leaving everything on the table, then livelihoods would be gone. People were going to get fired because there was going to be a lot less profit. And if they pushed the bank so hard, if they made the bank mad that they walked away and destroyed that relationship, well, then there would be a whole set of other consequences in a very unique industry. And so they needed to find a way to manage it. They needed to find a different way of handling the negotiation process. And so I want you to think about for a second, what's at stake for you? Maybe it's not $1 billion deal. Maybe it's not the livelihoods of others, but maybe you find yourself in a position where it could be a very lucrative deal that could change your career. Maybe it's that promotion that you have been chasing. Maybe it's just trying to get that client to stop calling you at all hours of the day and night. Or maybe you are just dealing with an unruly toddler at home who's driving you nuts. The stakes might be different for every one of you, but we need to think a little bit differently about how we handle these negotiations in order to be successful in any one of those moments. Maybe you're that person who says, I don't have any issues when I exercise my power, I always get a deal. But then I want you to think very carefully. Are you getting the best deal, or are you leaving something on the table? Are you damaging a relationship that might hurt you later after this negotiation? Because it's not like negotiations are done as soon as you shake hands or you're never dealing with them again. In most of your scenarios, unless you're buying a souvenir on a beach in Mexico and walking away, in most of your scenarios, you're likely having to deal with this person in some way, shape, or form, directly or indirectly. So are you damaging a relationship that could hurt you now or even later?